A moment. She seemed to be saying something. Please help me check on her.
No,
Okay,
I'm here.
Oh, okay, okay, awesome.
Right. Well, it is just a few minutes after the hour, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today. This is really nice. We had a great reception from peace activators and members of the Basic Education and Literacy Rotary Action Group. And I'm really excited about this program that we're going to have for today. I'm Carolyn Johnson. I'm the Chair Emeritus of BELRAG. Have been active with BELRAG for a long time. We include a number of about 400 Rotarians and Rotaractors from around the world, and I'll speak a little bit more to BELRAG in just a minute. Next slide. So just a few housekeeping. Please make sure we expect a large audience, so please make sure that you have set your microphone to mute. You're welcome to introduce yourself in the chat. The meeting is being recorded. And as we go through the program today, please put any questions in the chat. We will plan to have a question and answer period at the end. So put your questions in the chat and we'll plan on addressing them that way. Next. So as I said, this webinar is being hosted by BELRAG, the Basic Education and Literacy Rotary Action Group. We have about 400 members around the world, and our goals are to increase awareness of illiteracy and its impact on the quality of life, to help create an awareness among Rotarians on how we can strengthen the capacity of communities to provide education and literacy for all, to assist Rotarians to increase the scale and effectiveness of education and literacy projects, and to collaborate with Rotarians and other groups to establish partnerships for the project with other areas of focus and with other organizations. And you can see there the different areas where we're involved, every place from early childhood education to working with children with disabilities. A great interest of ours is working with out of school and underperforming youth, technology support for education, language learning, access to libraries and such. And I know we have a number of non-BELRAG members on board with us today. So if you are interested in getting involved or you have information to share with us, we can be reached at belrag.org. Next. So our first speaker this morning is Michael Collins. First, he will talk about the Rotary Positive Peace Activator Program, which is a competitive 20-hour training program training active Rotary members and stakeholders in specific regions on positive peace framework and Rotary's peace ecosystem. And secondly, to create strong regional networks within a global network. Activators commit to work with Rotary members in implementing positive peace initiatives following their training. Of more than 1,200 applicants, 379 Rotary Positive Peace activators from 99 countries have been trained in 11 different trainings. To date, trained activators have conducted 1,247 actions or activities, investing more than 13,000 hours of service and reaching nearly 15 million people. Our speaker is Michael Collins, who is the Executive Director of the Institute for Economics and Peace, the world's leading think tank dedicated to developing metrics to analyze peace and to quantify its economic value. Leveraging the private sector and almost 20 years of humanitarian developmental experience, he is responsible for expanding IEP's impact, including the adoption of positive peace as an evidence and systems-based tool for effective peace-centered development. Welcome, Michael. The floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Carolyn. And there's going to be a whole bunch of content of people who are significantly more qualified than I. So I'm going to try and keep this very, very short. And Summer Lewis, the coordinator of the IEP and Rotary Partnership, will be delving in a bit more specifically about the specifics of the Activator program. And Jude Kakuba in particular is going to be sharing a distinct case study that I think sort of epitomizes perhaps some of the sort of the overall conceptual framing that maybe I can help provide in these next sort of 5 minutes. First of all, maybe just a tiny bit about IEP. Today here in the US is National Bring Your Child to Work Day. So I was having all of this quandary coming in on the ferry this morning, thinking about how am I going to explain my job to my sort of 8-year-old daughter? Because I was like, well, I spend most of my time these days, at least, sort of in front of the computer and talking to people and thinking about things, working for a think tank. And I was worried that she'd say, well, Daddy, you don't really do much. So I've tried to sort of contextualize the work that we do, and more importantly, the analysis that we do around peace and peace building around the world. And the way that I described it to her is, number one, in terms of the Institute, we try and measure things that are difficult to measure. And we started on this journey trying to find better ways of measuring peacefulness around the world. So if you imagine a map of the world and you imagine countries in different colors, a country in red would be a country that currently has low levels of peacefulness for whatever the reason may be, right? And then there'll be other countries that are in green that have high measures of peacefulness. And then there is a whole spectrum in between. So, the work of the Institute and specifically the Rotary IEP partnership from a peace building perspective, as you know, peace building and conflict prevention is one of the 7 areas of focus, is to be able to try and better understand some of these dynamics. What are the underlying attitudes, institutions, and structures that create and sustain peacefulness around the world? So whereas traditionally we have, and broadly the social sciences have often focused on, okay, well, what's missing in these countries that are in red, essentially? Our focus has been to kind of sort of flip the coin to a certain degree, which is to say, that's great, but what we're trying to find here is stuff that's missing, and assuming that we know what actually creates peacefulness. Is there anything that we can actually learn from these countries that are currently in green or are progressively becoming more green, right, that we can then, apply in these other kinds of contexts, right? So a deeper understanding of what peaceful countries generally have in common. So that's what IEP has been dedicating its research to over the last 20 years. And from here comes this broad framework called the Positive Peace Framework. Both Jude and Summer will do a great job of differentiating between the differences between negative peace, which is defined very, very concretely as the absence of violence and fear of violence, and then positive peace, which are these attitudes, institutions, and structures that create and sustain peaceful societies. IEP does this from a statistical perspective and an analytical perspective with data. And we do this primarily at a country level because that's where the most data is. But if you imagine this framework of these 8 pillars, right? Relatively simple, well-functioning government. Hey, lo and behold, well-functioning government is critical to the construction of peaceful societies from a statistical, analytical perspective. The acceptance of the rights of others, well-functioning government, a sound business environment. These are all core components we see of peaceful societies. Specifically from a Rotary perspective, the question then becomes, well, that's all fine and dandy, but how is this useful to us in any way? Especially if we're trying to do more local projects, right? Even, for example, basic education and literacy projects. How can we incorporate some of these high-level, conceptual findings about how to build peace into our programs every day? So the idea is that you can use this framework to be able to contextualize. If we've looked at, say, peacefulness in the United States over any given point in time, can we look at peacefulness in our own town or in our own community, independently of where that may be? So this positive peace framework acts as a guide to be able to think about these topics in our own contexts. And the same can be said for projects as well. So the idea behind this framework, this positive peace framework that's going to be talked about today, is to think of it as the equivalent of the 4-way test. If we know for a fact that context, including families, communities, neighborhoods, cities, and countries become more peaceful when these 8 pillars of positive peace are being reinforced, it almost becomes conditional to incorporate them in our actions and in our projects in the same way that we do the 4-way test. The 4-way test isn't optional, right? All of the 4 factors need to be checked in order to be able to make sure we're doing things the appropriate way. The same thing could be said for the 8 pillars of positive peace. As and when we implement a project, specifically, and we're intrigued in enhancing its peace-building capability, how can we make sure that we're contributing to each pillar in the best possible way? That is the essentially the basis of the curriculum for the Rotary IEP Partnership, the basis of the curriculum for the Rotary Positive Peace Activators, which is a group of almost 200 people who are trained in these methodologies to be able to help Rotary clubs around the world help build peacefulness in this way. Out of that emanate a variety of different case studies, one of which we're going to be delving into today. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Summer Lewis to tell us a tiny bit more about the Activator program before we get to Jude and the real meat of the session today.
So I'm actually not going to be talking at all, but thank you, Michael. You provided a great intro as well as Carolyn, and so I'll pass it back to Carolyn. Thank you.
Thanks, Summer, and thank you, Michael. That was a great background foundation for us for the rest of the program this morning. So our featured speaker is Jude Kakuba. Jude is a Rotarian from Uganda who had been trying to improve the levels of literacy in Kampala for 2 years, but had little success. After attending a positive peace workshop, he decided to look at his own project through the lens of positive peace. He identified a number of ways to address his project in a systemic way and engaged his local Rotary Club in supporting a new initiative focusing on activating all the pillars of positive peace. Jude is a teacher and head of mathematics at the Kampala International School in Uganda. Jude is a Rotaractor, having served as his club's president, and is also a member of Kampala City Rotary. The Kakuba Education Project is a project in Uganda that aims to improve literacy and education in underserved communities. It focuses on addressing multiple aspects of positive peace. Applying skills from the pillars of positive peace training, Jude helped integrate the positive peace framework into the Kakuba Literacy Project. Over 6 years, the club trained locals, distributed supplies, improved school facilities. These efforts increased school attendance, especially among girls, boosted community involvement, and improved pupil performance on the national exams. Welcome to Jude Kakuba. We are looking forward to hearing about your implementation of the pillars within the education context. Thanks, Jude.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Summer, for making this happen. Thank you so much for reaching out to me and giving me this opportunity. And I would like to make a special mention of my mentor, Mrs. Sophie Bamoyarachi. I know she's on the call. Thank you so much for this. So with that, I'll be turning off my camera, and from time to time, I'll be checking if I'm still audible enough. Just to check, Caroline, am I still audible enough before I begin?
You're doing well. Go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you. The Kakuba Literacy Project, coincidentally, we share a name. This project is named after a school, Kakuba Primary School. But I do not have any role in the formation of the school, and neither am I a leader at that school. It was just a coincidence. In my year of presidency, I got a chance to apply the pillars of peace. And the way it started, we were seated in a room, in a conference room at Ryder Hotel, and we were asked to create a project using the pillars of peace. I'll be honest, the pillars did not make much sense to me in that room until I started breaking them down. Please go to the next slide. During that training, I got to learn about the 2 types of peace: negative peace and positive peace. Then I got to realize that in many, if not all, of our communities and our societies, there is negative peace. I say this because in every situation, there is an element, if not handled well, it could spill into a conflict. Because negative peace actually is the absence of violence or fear of violence, but it doesn't actually mean that everything is in place for everyone to be happy. No, there is some underlying condition that if not handled well, this could erupt into a conflict. That is what I understood by negative peace. Next slide, please. Then the second is positive peace. In my understanding, positive peace is a situation that I think each and every one of us would like to have. Be it at your home, be it at your workplace, be it on the streets, in our rural areas, each one of us would like to have positive peace, only if we understood it better. And what I picked out of this is that positive peace describes an optimum environment for human potential to flourish. So what I understood out of this is that this is a situation whereby everything is in place. Every underlying condition is actually okay. And nothing could cause people to want to reject what's going on in society, to rebel against the laws. That is how I understand positive peace. A situation that we would all love to walk into. Next slide, please. Well, in 2016, I was unemployed. And then an opportunity came up to go and spend a weekend at a hotel. And to me, I saw this as a great opportunity to step away from my misery at that time. And this opportunity was created as a result of the Rotary Club of Kampala Sese Islands in Uganda, partnering with the Rotary Club of La Jolla Golden Triangle in USA. And this was a great opportunity because they told us, you will get snacks, you will get a transport refund, and it was a free weekend getaway for me. And at this workshop, we got exposed to quite a number of things. What I found amazing were the games that were used to train us. One of the games involved guns and roses. And it was at that moment that I noticed that someone so close to you could turn around and stab you in the back in order to continue living. But this was a very informative play. And this was not the only kind of game we had, because we also had sessions where we would get to exchange roles. And it made me get to think about life in a different way from another person's perspective. And it was at this project, it was at this training that we were tasked to form groups of Rotaractors from different clubs in the country to come up with projects using the pillars of peace. Now, let me dive a bit into what was causing me the confusion that I'm talking about. Next slide, please. Before we go into that, I love the way the pillars of peace can be joined with the areas of focus in Rotary to create a wholesome project. And I love the statement that Paul Harris made, I have no hesitation that world peace could be achieved and made permanent if read on Rotary's firm foundation of friendliness, tolerance, and usefulness. Now, Paul Harris mentioned this at the convention in 1940. Now, this is not so far back, because these same values, if we apply them in our own lives, then we can have a more peaceful world. Next slide. Here, during that training, I try to look at what Rotary wants to offer to the world. And then I was struggling to understand these new concepts that were presented to me. Because on one side, we have the areas of focus: peace building and conflict prevention. Okay, that's doable. Disease prevention and treatment. I'm not a doctor, neither am I in the medical field, so it wasn't making sense to me. Water, sanitation, and hygiene. Still, I don't work in the water department. That was hard. Maternal and child health. So then I crossed over to the pillars of peace, well-functioning government. I definitely would love to see some things change about my government. But then I know that I'm too small to walk into the parliament and effect those changes. Sound business environment. I'm not a business person, so it wasn't making sense to me. Equitable distribution of resources. I don't know how to mine resources, so still it wasn't making sense to me. But then I sat down and thought, hey, there's this place that I need to take my club to when I become president. Is there a way I can try to make sense out of these pillars to make the project more meaningful to the community we want to take it to? Then I started thinking more. But for me to achieve the results, I had to scale down the pillars of peace to something manageable. Then I started thinking locally. Because to me, Kakuba isn't just a school. Kakuba project isn't just a project. To me, it's personal. It's personal because it felt special that I went to lead the club, and then we shared the name with the project. And then, to me, I call it a green jewel. I'll tell you why. Please go to the next slide. So Kakuba is a school located in Busede village, in the heart of vast sugarcane plantations. And if you do not have someone to guide you, it's easy to get lost in that vast plantation. It's like a maze. And to go through that maze, when you reach the center, you reach the jewel. That's why I call Kakuba my green jewel. So breaking down the pillars, we start with the well-functioning government. I went and searched about what a government is. And I understood it better when I noticed that a government is the authority that sets rules for the society. Now, if you go by this description, then you notice that a government does not specifically refer to the ruling body of a country. So I noticed that, wait a minute. So you mean I also form a government? The community we are going to has local leaders. So what if I break down the well-functioning government to the local leaders? That made sense to me. I may not have much impact on the parliament of my country, but if I work with the local leaders, then I think we can achieve something tangible in this community. So we involved the local community leaders. We told them what we want to do, what we aim to achieve, and what we need them to do to help us elevate their society. Involving local leaders helped us to have our project accepted by the community, because people listen more to a person they've been working with, not an outsider. Next slide, please. A sound business environment. To start with, the strength of a local economy is an indicator of peace. This time I'm using peace, not positive peace, because it could go either way. If the local economy is struggling, that's an indicator of negative peace. But if the local economy is progressing, then there is hope for positive peace. Many times, Rotary clubs and Rotaract clubs make this mistake. When they're carrying out a project, they spend quite a sum of money transporting material over long distances. Yet this material could have been bought from the businesses within the community. Now, this has a number of purposes. One, the money you could have wasted on the transport could be added to complete an activity of your project. Two, the money you spend in the local community could help to increase the income levels in that community. So by purchasing from local businesses, we were increasing the income levels within the community, but also it gave the community businesses a chance to reach some bit of formality. They did not have receipts, but we asked them to provide some proof of doing business with us. It doesn't matter how small it is. This was our starting step. And truth be told, by the next phase of the project, the businesses we bought material from, some of them had got licenses. Some of them had now got receipts, which they did not have before. Why? Because they understood that if I'm to work with an organization bigger than my local community, then I need to be more formal. Next slide, please. Equitable distribution of resources. At first I said, I do not mine minerals. I do not have the power to distribute resources in a country. But within the things I do, I have some capacity to move some things around. So together with my club, our core goal has been to improve education levels of communities we go to. What better way to do that than to provide more learning space for the children? So we noticed that by buying construction material and paying the community members to provide labor, the labor to carry around the construction material, the labor to paint the building, the labor to carry the stones, the labor to train the rest of the members on how to make liquid soap, how to make snacks for sale. This, in a way, gave us an opportunity to increase the way income is distributed within the community because we offered employment opportunities to people. We went ahead to distribute things as simple as exercise books, pencils, pens, plastic shoes. Now, this may seem meager, something so little, but you will be shocked by how much this little item means to someone's life. A book could go for about 10 cents, but some families cannot afford this. By completing the construction of a classroom block, we solved two problems. One, we increased the learning space of the students, but we also solved the problem of accommodation. This very classroom block in the night is used as a dormitory for the pupils. So in the night, they do not have to, the children who are like in the higher classes like primary 7 and primary 6 get a chance to stay longer in school. Next slide, please. Acceptance of the rights of others. One of the biggest challenges that the school was facing was female learners missing school for about 7 days in a row, 5 days in a row. Why? Because they're going through their menstrual periods. Now, a sanitary towel in Uganda, a pack could cost about 3,600 shillings. That's less than $1. But to some families, spending this amount of money on a monthly basis is a luxury. So children are left with no option but to use old clothes and sanitary towels. But because of the shame, because of the stench, due to the poor handling of the cycle, these children are forced out of school. And because the boys have not been trained enough, they laugh at them. Standing with these girls, providing to them sanitary towels, not just sanitary towels, but reusable sanitary towels, teaching them how to make the sanitary towels, teaching their mothers how to make the sanitary towels, teaching their mothers how to use the sanitary towels, teaching the boys how to respect girls when they're going through this cycle, teaching the boys that it is normal to go through this cycle, created a change that we did not expect. Girls started coming to school more often. The boys became more respectful, and the girls accepted the fact that it is okay to go through this cycle as long as I manage it well. Now, by doing this, we are fighting the stigma around menstruation. And this helped to increase the attendance of girls in school. Next pillar, please. Good relations with neighbors. For a long time, and I'll be honest with you, this problem has not been fully solved. But at least the school now has a better way to deal with it. Quite a number of children in Ugandan schools, Kakuba alike, quite a number of children leave homes when they have not had anything to eat in the morning. Many families survived on 1 meal a day, and that's not even a proper meal. So there were so many conflicts between the school and the community members. Why? Because children used to escape from class and go into the neighbors' gardens to dig up food crops, to get mangoes, to get oranges, to dig up cassava, to dig up sweet potatoes, to pluck raw maize, to have something to eat, to take them through the day. Well, quite a number of those children who escaped into the neighbors' gardens would not return to school for their afternoon classes. And this idea was suggested to us by a member of the club, Eniran Chitio. And he said, together with Patrick Sempija, who was at the time the head of the project, leading the team, he said, how about we get something to help the children stay in school longer? So they suggested Obuji Bwa Kakuba, which means Kakuba porridge. A cup of porridge a day. I didn't believe it when the statistics came out. A cup of porridge a day made more children in the community want to come to school. More parents enrolled their children in school. Children stayed in school longer. Why? There was a cup of porridge to take them through the day. And we got quite a number of generous Rotarians, Rotaractors, and non-Rotaractors, non-Rotarians supporting this project. One of the people who was so helpful in this was past District Governor Francisco Semwanga, who offered us flour and sugar. But we also suggested to the school to plant more fruit trees so that instead of the children going into the neighbors' gardens, the school could harvest what we had planted. And on the side, you will see me planting a tree with a child. Next slide, please. Free flow of information. We underestimate the power of native languages. How I wish parents could embrace this more. As an educator, I feel it is so important for the child to learn their native language and then learn other languages. We notice that by partnering with a local radio station that uses the native language Lusoga and asking community members who understand the native language Lusoga, every time we went for a meeting and Lusoga was the main language of communication, and of course with a bit of translation into English, the community listened more. When we talk about free flow of information, we mean the message you want to pass on should come from the person communicating to the recipient, and then the cycle should flow back so that the message is not missed. So it is very important, it is so important for Rotaract clubs to use a language that is understood by the community. Other languages can come second. Next slide, please. High level of human capital. Now, in all this, I did a lot of research, not complicated research, but research that could help me understand the keywords. High levels of human capital. When I went low to a layman's understanding, I discovered that human capital refers to the collective resources possessed by individuals in a population. These could include the knowledge, the talents, the skills, the abilities, the experience, the intelligence, the training, the wisdom possessed individually and collectively. So it made me understand that when we go to serve in this community, we're not only looking to work with the professional architects, the professional teachers. No, we are looking at working with the common man and utilizing their skill to help them build their own community. Now, when we approached the community members with the help of our member, Lazarus Science, we asked him to help us get this community to understand that what we are doing is for them, not for us. With that, we were able to get volunteers, some people who are in dire need of some money, those we paid, but some were willing to volunteer their skill, their time. And by understanding that they are doing this for their community, Some of them helped us with the building, with the construction, with the treatment, but also using Rotaract clubs around Uganda, like the Rotaract Club of Mulago Nursing School, the Rotaract Club of Mulago. We had these students join us for this project and offering free medical services to a group of about 300 patients. Because when you treat a person, they have better health. Health is wealth. Because when you're healthy, you can work. When you're healthy, you can think. When you have a disability, you can still support the society with the little you have, or the much knowledge you may have, or the skills that you may have. Now, one thing that will never leave my mind to this day was a lady who had traveled for over 18 kilometers on a small motorcycle, a pregnant lady, and she had traveled all this distance just to come and get free medication. Sadly, she lost her baby as soon as she reached the project site. She got a miscarriage. But that shows you the dire situation of the community, the communities we try to serve. It's not that we don't have governments, but we have an extra hand to support our people. How I wish there was another Rotary Club in the area that had taken the services closer to her that very day. Next slide, please. Low levels of corruption. By involving the stakeholders of the school, the parents, the teachers, the students, and us, this back and forth flow of information, the labeling of items helped us to track the items we had donated. Please remember, this project is not perfect. Everything I'm talking about, I'm not saying it is perfect. There are some loopholes. Of course, some items get lost, but at least there is a level of tracking. There is a level of knowing how well we are doing. Why? Because time to time we get the feedback. The saucepans we donated to you, they were 5. How many do you have now? The textbooks we gave to you, they were 50. How many do you have now? Who has taken them? What are you doing to retrieve them? Now, involving the stakeholders, the relevant stakeholders, corruption is checked. Because there was even a time when the head teacher of this school was trying to move textbooks to their private school, and the parents and the fellow teachers called us and told us, this is what is going on. The items you gave to us, someone is trying to misuse them. And we tracked it down, we caught that. So involve the community, involve the relevant stakeholders. This helps you to ensure the project items are better taken care of. Next slide, please. On the left, that was the kitchen. And with the few resources we had, we managed to put up a better kitchen. It was designed by a past member of ours who unfortunately died unexpectedly, a qualified architect, and he also helped us to design the classroom block. Next slide, please. So this was the planning phase of the classroom block. This is what we had in mind. And the next slide will show you what we managed to achieve. So this was during the implementation. We monitored the project from start to end. Next slide, please. We visited the project site quite a number of times to make sure things are running. This was not a remote project. This was not a remote controlled project. No, we were physically involved. Next slide. And this is the outcome. 2 classrooms, doesn't look big, but created a big impact. And this was at the 6th phase. Next slide. For just one phase, the extra phase, because we had planned to do it in about 5 phases, but we had to take it a notch higher, and we had the Kakuba extra. Now, accountability is key. Accountability is key. And that's why I love giving to the Rotary Foundation. You need to account for the money you get from partners. And we had this kind of reporting for each and every one of the 6 phases we did. Just one phase cost us about $8,900. Now, if I multiply this by 6, and of course there are phases where we spent more, I'll try to be conservative. This project cost us at least $25,000 to complete. Next slide, please. And the results. It's good to have indicators, something that you can look at and know whether you created an impact or not. There were so many indicators we could have looked at, but we focused more on the performance. In 2016, before we implemented our project, the national exams had the results in following order. Only 30% of the learners had Division 1 and Division 2. 1 year after implementing our project, in 2017, the percentages started shifting. 45% of the learners now had Division 1 and Division 2. Now, this is not a lie. The teachers confirmed that the textbooks, the porridge, back and forth checking, monitoring, helped the school administration to become more serious about the running of business in the school. The longer stay of the learners in school helped them to focus more and to learn better. And in phase 2, the percentage went even higher. 61% now got Division 1 and 2. Phase 3, 75% Division 1 and 2. Phase 4, 88%. In 2021, we have no results because unfortunately, that's the year when COVID hit. And definitely these families were not able to afford online classes, so there was no studying for them. In phase 6, when we were just coming out of the effects of COVID, the percentages shifted, not for the better. They went down a bit because now we go back to 55.93%. Did we do all we could in this community? No. But as Rotary clubs and Rotaract clubs and other organizations that would like to volunteer, we need to train the communities we go to that at some point, when we are no longer with you, you need to move forward. I think with that, I would like to end my presentation. Please, next slide, the last one. This same concept was applied when I was asked by the Danish Refugee Council, together with the Institute of Economics and Peace, to go and share the story with the community in Karamoja region. I loved this place. And after presenting about Kakuva, one gentleman walked up to me and said, "Thank you. I was meant to marry off my 13-year-old daughter next week. But I think she has a better chance at gaining a better future if I let her stay in school longer." And there are tales of these people are young. They do not know what fun is. They haven't lived in the times when the guns were the guitars and the bullets were the strings. And these are stories told in Moroto when killing a person was a sport. But because of sharing the stories we learn around the world, you can change a community. I know that sharing this story in Karamoja will change a generation because of that man who decided to let his daughter stay in school longer. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Jude. That was an amazing presentation. It really reinforces how having the community involved from the beginning and having the community buy-in makes all the difference towards a long-term project and long-term impacts. We're coming up on the end of our session. Maybe have time for one or two questions. If people have a question they want to raise their hand, we can do questions. Otherwise, we can close. Summer, maybe if you could talk about just for a minute on how folks can get involved with the Positive Peace Activator program.
Sure. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Jude. It's really great. We've known about this project for a long, long time based on the partnership with IEP and the work that you've done with them, but then also as a Positive Peace Activator. And it's really great to hear about it in this way. And it's really impressive what you've done and what you've continued over the years. So the Positive Peace Activator program was introduced in the beginning. I'll leave a note in the chat with a little more information and the webpage for that, but essentially it's a really amazing program offered through the partnership, providing deeper training in peace and conflict resolution for Rotary members, Peace Fellows, and other Rotary friends. There aren't any trainings or regional cohort trainings coming up anytime soon. We're looking at really strengthening the networks that exist of 8 regional cohorts. But there's always lots of opportunities for Rotary members to get involved with activators. Part of activators' work is to support Rotary members in peace work. So I'll leave information in the chat if people are interested in learning more about that.
That sounds great.
And Caroline, if you
of
don't
my-
mind me just very quickly
Yes,
jumping in
please.
as well. I just wanted to extend a note of appreciation to Jude in particular, because Jude was kind of sort of one of the very early pioneers of the application of positive peace in local context. And it's one of the reasons why we continue to share this case study many, many years afterwards, not only because it's, great monitoring and evaluation, being able to track this over an extended period of time, but also because it really sort of captures ways in which we seek the positive peace framework to be applied. So again, thank you very much, Jude. And just a couple of things that really resonated, that I hope resonated with the audience here today, when he mentioned that that aspect of being, too small to have an impact in certain contexts, but with the right framing to almost become bigger, to have a more significant impact on others. And critically, Jude also talked about this aspect of the positive peace framework having to make sense to me in my particular context. And especially when it comes to Rotary and Rotary potentially working in other contexts and environments that it not be familiar with, we also need to be conscious of the fact that it not only needs to make sense to us, but it also critically needs to make sense to the people that we are trying to help as well. And therefore, these pillars of positive peace need to be revised and contextualized. So again, thanks to Jude and thanks to everyone today.
Excellent points. Thank you. A nice summary, Michael. Anjali, if you could go on to the next slide. I think we'll wrap it up here. I just wanted to put in a plug for those of you who are going to the Calgary Convention, and I saw a couple from Calgary were on the call. BELRAG is hosting a pre-convention symposium. It's on Friday, the 20th of June, and we'd certainly welcome you, anyone who has an interest in education projects, an interest in what we're doing, to join us. It's at the Calgary Library, Downtown Library, which we're very excited is hosting us, and you can find more information on our website, belrag.org. So thank you, Jude, so much for your presentation. It was really, really excellent. So many points to think about. Michael, we appreciate you joining us, and Summer, thank you for your help in getting this all set up. So thank you to everyone for joining us today. A really great session. BELRAG does webinars periodically, and so we'll share the information as the next ones come up. And if you have ideas for topics, please let me know. Thanks again to Jude and Summer and Michael, and appreciate everyone investing their time with us today.
Thank you, Carolyn, for organizing this.
My pleasure.